You might be familiar with Stardust and Crimson Coral Cookie, right? They belong to the class of super epics, which is home to a range of weird and concerning things. This is the confusing story of Cookie Run Kingdom's super epic rarity. It's considered higher than epic and lower than legendary, ancient, and dragon. And as of current update, there's currently 7 super epics in the game, not including the theorized 8, which is Frilled Jellyfish Cookie. Stardust and Crimson Coral are 2 of the most used super epics, but we'll get to both of them later. The super epic is meant to be the middle ground between the usual epics and the higher rarities, but somehow they've managed to not only outplay all of them, they're somehow harder to get than all of them. Don't believe me? Super epic cookies possess skills with substantially unique qualities that put them above the average epic cookies while being listed below dragon, legendary, and ancient cookies in terms of power. That's the official description in the Cookie Run Kingdom fandom wiki, but the way they're treated isn't exactly par for the course. The individual chance you get for pulling a specific super epic is 0.019%, which is the lowest in the entire game. Here are also the stats of the other rarities. Do note that I'm using probabilities in Peppermint Cookie's banner, but what's fascinating is the other rarities' odds stay the same even in normal banner, but the super epic is the only one reduced when changing banners. Just something to note. These are the results after running through the possible odds of getting a random cookie from each rarity, and we can see that super epic is more unlikely than ancient and legendary despite having more cookies. Obviously for dragon, Pitaya is the only one, but still, the fact that Pitaya is more than twice as likely to appear as a specific super epic is baffling. And even in the normal banner, Pitaya is still more likely to appear than a super epic. Didn't the Wikidot say that this tier was lower than dragon, ancient, and legendary? Why are the odds even worse than that when it should be the other way around? Even in the super epic banners, the odds are 0.38%, which is still really low, and is part of a problem that we'll tackle later on. But back then, the odds were higher and the pity system was different, allowing you to get them via pity and maybe even get a copy if you're lucky.
Probability of obtaining sherbet cookie inside of his gacha, alright, was 0.424%. If you guys look at the probability within the Stardust cookie banner, probability of getting Stardust cookie is 0.382%.
The reason the drop rates of super epics are lower is because they are linked to, well, the epic category as shown here. But Dev Sisters have shown to treat it as their own rarity with their dedicated banners and rate-up chance and such. So why is it when it comes to other banners, the super epic drops become lower? It confuses me how they're harder to pull than these despite being multiple tiers down. It makes no sense from a rarity standpoint. Another problem is there's too many super epics being released too quickly. The last 4 out of 5 updates feature a super epic cookie, all of them packaged in the same pity system. This makes it hard for players to build up cookies as there might be another OP cookie in the next update, in the next, and so on down the line. It makes it so hard to keep up with the meta as the constant release of epic plus cookies will make it harder for players to keep up, not to mention how incredibly overpowered some of them are, which again makes other cookies pretty much useless in the meta. Take for example Crimson Coral Cookie. Her skill requires that she's the only tanker, but because she's so good as a solo tank, she threw out both Pitaya and Hollyberry out of the arena meta. Remember, this is a super epic versus an ancient and a dragon, and Stardust Cookie, who has been out in the game for 6 months, is arguably the best PvP cookie in the entire game because of his insane utility. Let's take a look at both side by side. Well, they both check the box for meta cookies. So why do people dislike them so much? Well, it seems the answer comes to this. Now, I get that power creep is inevitable in games like this, especially in a gacha game like Cookie Run Kingdom, but it's gotten to the point where there is a tier that's so much stronger than the supposed higher tiers after it. Take a look at the new standard team in the game. Crimson Coral, Stardust, Black Pearl, Snapdragon, and the last one can be a flex. As I said earlier, it's gotten to where they're so overpowered that they're overthrowing cookies in the meta that are many tiers above them. What I hate so much about them is they don't contribute to the epic plus limit in the arena despite having these banners and events specifically for them, as if Dev Sisters are aware of how strong these dudes are and that they allow as much as they want on your team. Combined with terrible odds and a pity system that is worse than any other rarity, and you got yourself an incredibly overpowered but really hard to get rarity. It even extends the PvE aspects of things. If you've been playing the Black Pearl Crystal Gem game mode, you'll know the struggles of level 9 and 10. For the majority of players, these tiers are stupidly hard to beat. I even struggled here until I got Crimson Coral, and she pretty much blew this out the wazoo. The fact that I couldn't beat this without Crimson Coral says a lot about the power creep. Of course, you can absolutely beat this without her, but for the majority of players, they might relate to this. The feeling of of needing that one specific powerful cookie just to clear one stage to find out that they're really hard to get, so you resort to time jumping the stages until you get them. It's really annoying to deal with, especially for free-to-plays because they'll relate to this the most. Not everyone has these absurdly high ascended cookies. Some of us are just getting by and play this game for fun. So for the game to suggest whatever kind of stupid recommendation this is feels pretty insulting. Heck, even for veteran players this is a tad bit too much. Another thing is they kind of fall off really quickly after a few meta shifts. Capsaicin, useless. Sherbet was meta for a while then fell off. Oyster, we don't talk about that. Clotted Cream, he did come back recently to counter Crimson Coral, but other than that, he's still really bad. The meta is shifting so fast these days that it's almost impossible to keep up, that in fear of another of these overpowered super epics popping up, as was the case of Stardust and Crimson Coral. There's only around 4 epics in this game that are still usable in the meta, 2 of them needing a magic candy, so you can see why this is a big burden for free-to-play players. Nowadays, people are now running 2 super epics, 2 legendaries, and a Snapdragon. As you saw earlier, a variation of the standard team features Moonlight, so you can see how ridiculously loaded some teams can get without an epic. Do you notice the common variable in all of this? The super epic. The super epic is the one who throws out meta cookies as soon as they're out. The super epic is the one who enables the other cookies to shine. The super epic is the meta. So much for being lower than damn ancient. Subscribe and like for more content like this, and if you want to see the video where I talk about the current state of Kingdom, click on this end screen.